Hello and welcome to an exclusive hour-long programme with me, Alex Belfield, talking to, well, my favourite person in a frock. Michael Ball, how are you?
Oh, I'm all right. Who was your favourite person in a frock before me?
Jane McDonald, I think, or Sue Pollard.
Okay.
But now you, and I'll tell you why. You just look delicious.
Were you strangely drawn?
I'll tell you what it is. It's those thighs and those bingo wings popping out of that beautiful
Sorry, the bingo wings weren't padding.
Oh, I see.
They are my very own.
So I suppose you could say there's more to you than there was to you since we last spoke.
There certainly is.
How you doing, Michael? I went to see Hairspray last night and I had just a ball watching you enjoying yourself. And that's what's addictive about theatre when it's at its best.
Yeah.
If the people on stage are having a good time, you'll have a good time. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're really, really proud of it. And what you just said about me enjoying myself, I truly am. I've never experienced a whole process of getting a show on that has been so easy, that has been so much fun, that has been full of such camaraderie and such brilliance from the creative team. We are very lucky. The show opened 5 years ago on Broadway, and I saw it and thought it was the best bit of musical theatre I'd seen in a long time, if not ever. And I thought, I want to play that part, and I never thought I'd be able to. I never thought they'd cast me here. Cut to the fact that we're doing it, and everybody has come over to work with us. Jack O'Brien, the greatest director I've ever worked with, a brilliant man. Jerry Mitchell, the finest choreographer on Broadway, and all of their teams come with them, all their assistants and associates. So we were drilled from day one Broadway style, which is very different to West End style. And it really shows. Those kids every night go out and give 100%, so accurately and so full of energy in those extraordinary dance routines. And also the show itself, the way Jack explained it and talked to us. He got up in the first morning and we're all sat around in a circle and he talked for 40 minutes and inspired every one of us. We weren't just doing a fun, light, fluffy musical. We were doing something full of subversion, full of social comment, full of really important messages. So however light it comes across to an audience, we know what we're actually talking about, and that subconsciously goes into an audience. And literally from that day, none of us have ever worked so hard and enjoyed ourselves so much.
I think there's been a lot of musicals in the past of 60s style that have failed, and this could have as well if it hadn't been done so well.
Yeah.
It's something that if somebody else had have done it and not put the effort into it or the money, it could have been awful. But the fact that the passion in the dancing, the passion in the singing and everything is just so inspired.
You have to start off. The first thing you have to start with is the actual work itself. And you have a wonderful film that it was based on, John Waters' film. It's then turned into Margot Lyons, who's the American producer, is a friend of John Waters, is lying in bed, lives in Baltimore, lying in bed poorly and looking at the old movie and going, this would make a terrific musical. So gets the very best of American creative talent behind it. Jack, I mentioned, Jerry, but more importantly, Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, who wrote the music. And Mark is, a prolific writer, has written a lot in the cinema. He's been nominated for an Oscar 5 times. He wrote my favourite movie, South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut. It's just the funniest movie I have ever seen. And what Mark was able to do is to recreate that kind of 60s sound, from the cheesy pop to the real soul R&B diva stuff and the Motown sound, and make it sound authentic, not pastiche, make it sound absolutely real, and then with Scott's lyrics giving them a bit of an edge, actually saying something or sending up something. So if you've got that and then you have a book that's really well written, that does sound like people and is witty and is sharp. So if you've got that and then you get the right director and they do the right casting, you have, as we said right from the beginning, a Rolls Royce of a musical.
I've just had an idea for your next tour.
What's that?
That song, I'm Super, Thanks for Asking, from South Park. You should put it in. Don't you think?
It's not a bad idea.
I think your audience would love it.
You're going to have to do a lot of beefing on that one.
I'll tell you what's great about you. You've got such a diverse audience, and I think somebody who's helped you recently is people like Jonathan Ross, who have exposed you as a personality. And I've said this to you before. Yeah. With all due respect, musical theatre can be a bit mincy, can't it? And you've kind of taken that out, although you keep it fun and don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, there are two sides, I think, to the musical theatre. It can be very precious and very earnest. It's only a musical. I've never allowed it to be that. I've never denied that it's bloody hard work. You know, it's the hardest gig you can have in this business. There's no question of that. But it should be fun. It should be light. And when you have an art form that can take you to, I don't know, shows from Hairspray, which is the lightest, the funniest, to Les Miserables, to Parade, to the Sondheim stuff, that's so diverse that really can tap into anyone's musical taste. Do you know what? One of the most fascinating and disturbing things I read at the weekend, we've had the most incredible reviews of a show I've ever read, actually, right across the board, except for one. And this was, I can't remember his name, but he writes for the Sunday Telegraph. And he started off his review by saying that musicals have nothing to do with theatre. Now, that is such a preposterous and a pompous and a bizarre statement that musicals have no place in theatre, and then proceeded to obviously rubbish the show because he just didn't get it, didn't understand it, didn't want to. And it was fascinating to listen to this man. You think you aren't the kind of person who should go to the theatre. People who go to the theatre should be open to new experiences, should be aware of the possibilities that theatre brings up. Because what theatre is, if anything, is all-inclusive. You know, every kind of person, every kind of story, every kind of style is there for people. And to dismiss a whole genre, and the most profitable and the most thriving, most living.
How are people liking the fact that Michael Ball now kisses men?
I think they're fine. I think they're, because the man I'm kissing is Mel Smith, who's also a national treasure. We love Mel. It wasn't in the original show, this kiss, and and I said to them, why don't Edna and Wilbur kiss? And they said, well, a lot of American actors are kind of worried about that. I said, for God's sake, get a grip. It's lovely. It's what the characters would do. So we've put one kiss in, and then Mel comes up with an ad lib, and we end up with doing two kisses. I think he's obviously very keen. He's threatening to tongue as well. He really is. He's genuine, and I know he's going to do it. Probably on the last matinee, he's going to give me a full-on snoggeroony. I have had to tell him, because I gave up smoking in February, and he smokes cigars constantly and stinks because of it. I mean, cigar breath, I don't recommend. So I said to him, if we're going to get cosy, you're going to have to do breath mints, mouthwash, whatever, but I'm not kissing that mouth. So now, good as gold. I do run him with a rod of iron, I've got to tell you. Good as gold. He has a little sloosh before he comes on, and it's all decent. I do love the reaction that it gets from, because it's a mixed reaction from the audience. The audience, I think, and I believe, have, after the initial going, blimey, that's Michael Ball in a frock, because I never play it nudge wink. I play Edna totally straight as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, and they get used to that, and they think of her as who she is. And then when we do the kiss, there's that moment of, oh, isn't it sweet that Edna and Wilbur are kissing, and then, but actually that's Michael Ball and Mel Smith. And there's a kind of a little moment, and we have a choice there of either doing a nudge wink to the audience and getting a cheap laugh, or playing it absolutely straight and making them feel, oh, but of course they can kiss, it's Edna and Wilbur. And that's the road. Mel's tried to go down the cheaper road a couple of times, and I've smacked his legs. But I've kept it absolutely, so we don't corpse, we don't pretend to laugh, or we just play it straight. And the payoff, therefore, at the very end of the song, is enormous, because you haven't destroyed this magical world that we've created for the audience. Because that's the thing of Hairspray. We've created this world that they have to buy into. The audience have to believe what we're doing, and have to believe that we believe. And if you ever break the fourth wall the wrong time, then the magic's gone, and the audience would feel cheated. we never do that.
How difficult was it for you to become a woman? Because you do it so well, almost too well.
How can you do something too well? It was incredibly easy. Everyone was saying to me, "Oh, you must spend hours in the makeup chair and walking in heels and blah." Half of the population do this very naturally, very easily, and there's a reason for that because there's not a lot to it. It's makeup. I do my own makeup. Takes 7 minutes. It's just makeup. There's no special skull. It's just a face. I'm blessed to have a face that isn't too angular. It isn't particularly macho. I don't look like the Bounce advert. Those two blokes. I can look quite feminine with it. The wigs are brilliant, the way they help. When Edna goes from Munter Edna, as I call her, the big old ironing thang at the bottom, and transforms into this gorgeous butterfly, her physicality changes, just as every woman's does. I base her look and her movement and everything on my gran, who was a Welsh matriarch, married to a much smaller man, and she dominated that house. She was the mother of the house, without question. And when she was in the house, she'd be in her house coat and she'd be in her slippers and in her support hose, just as Edna is, doing the ironing, making the food, cleaning out the grate, carrying the coal, doing the washing, what every woman, certainly at that era, did. But the picture I have of her, which I have next to my dressing table, is Gran as dressed up, going to my mum's wedding. And she's there with her hair piled up and her little suit on and her watch, which is a little bit too tight for her arms, which is exactly what Edna has. And she's looking quite demure, and she's in heels. And when Gran never wore heels, but on the rare occasion she did, she'd totter around like Edna does. So, and this is the same for a lot of women.
I think they call it all fur coat, no knickers, don't they?
and what's interesting, when my mum came to see the show, and my dad actually especially, he was a little bit weirded out afterwards, and he was raving about the show and everything, but there was something troubling him. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, it is weird for me because every time I've been to see you, even doing Count Fosco in Woman in White, I could see a little bit of my little boy up there. And it's really not happening here. All I'm seeing is my ex-mother-in-law. And I really genuinely am seeing her. And that's kind of, where's Mike gone?
It's a tremendous show. Go and see it. It's on at the Shaftesbury. A few very, very final things about Hairspray. It's not a great theatre to be in that. It's had a lot of bad shows that have closed very quickly. This is universally deemed to be the show that's going to turn around the fate of the Shaftesbury, and it will, unquestionably. Sold out last night.
The box office has broken all records. This was a worry for me, the curse of the Shaftesbury. But, a place is cursed because of the stuff that they've been putting in. And I think if Mamma Mia had gone in there, it would still be running. I think it doesn't help because it's not a theatre that has a huge amount of passing trade because it's at the other end of Shaftesbury Avenue. But it's kind of like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And as I say, they've broken all box office records there. And I hope people will keep coming because it's a show I guarantee any person coming in will feel better going out.
One of the other things I love about the show is the lines in it. You've got a fantastic line where you do something really, really base and you say, excuse me. It's all you say, just one line. Yeah. There's also another line, which I just love, the line about once you've tasted chocolate, I'm not going to ruin it. One of the nicest things I think the reviewers have all said is that if you didn't know it was you, you wouldn't really recognise either the voice or certainly your appearance. No. Is that a compliment to you?
Absolutely.
That you've finally done something where it's not Michael Ball?
The biggest compliment I've ever received. And some of them, the reviews have been really honest as well, and going, they all sort of thought, what on earth is Michael Ball being cast in Hairspray for? Is it a stunt to get people in? Is it, it's just wrong. And they've all held up their hands and gone, no, he was absolutely right. And it's something that I know, that people who know me know. But if you have a public persona, a public have a perception of you, you have to find ways of challenging that and breaking the stereotypes down. Now, I could think of no better way of doing that than with this.
The thing about this show as well is there's about 500 11 o'clock numbers. Those numbers where you just want to sing along and join in. It starts with one. It certainly ends with one. We started with Good Morning Baltimore. The end song is really one of the best songs that have ever been created for musical theatre.
It is the best finale of a show ever. It really is. You can't stop the beat. And what it's saying is absolutely true. And you look at the audience as we relentlessly sing this song, and it stops. Then it starts again and again. It is. The way that we got to be able to do this is when we started rehearsing, we'd come in the morning, do a half-hour warm-up. They'd then say, "Okay, finale." First thing we would do was run through that finale, which is about 18 minutes of dancing twice. Now, that builds your fitness up. That builds up your stamina. And then we started work. So every day, that was drummed in. Now, that's American showbiz. That really is Broadway torture, I think is the word. But my God, it paid off. Because we can now do that in us. That's muscle memory. And we never flag. We never will stop. This beat will not stop. You can't stop the beat. And they were absolutely right. And you see the reaction on their audience. And to a man, they're up cheering.
We're back on your favourite local radio station talking to Michael Ball today, a man who is selling live tickets, he's selling DVDs, he's selling CDs. Can I borrow £5?
Yeah, I'm just going to sell you a T-shirt, if you like.
Last time I saw you was in Nottingham earlier on in the year when you were doing your live tour. And what a tremendous show that was. Not only was it sold out, which I still think is remarkable. For anybody to get people to come out of their homes these days is an absolute miracle, let alone to pay for a ticket. Your audience were just so thrilled to see you. And there aren't really many people can do that. And it's normally the oddest people who get your kind of dedication. I see so many shows where I end up leaving before even the first half because they don't deliver.
When you say they don't deliver, what are you expecting?
I expect to see a show that I couldn't perform myself. Because I'm like you, I come from a normal background where you can't afford very much.
No.
And at £55 a ticket in the West End, I think you should absolutely be guaranteed a brilliant time, or you should get your money back.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's the duty of performers to be aware of that and to give, as I have with every show I've ever done, of give 110%. I never will coast a show. It's not in my nature. It's not the way I've been brought up. And I have seen it. I've seen it where quite often kids out of drama school, they have an attitude of the world owes them a living. They work to get the job. Once they've got the job, they think, oh, that's it, I've got it now, and they coast. They don't realise you learn on every show, literally, not just every job you do, but that Tuesday night audience will teach you something. So you bloody go out and you work hard for them. And we've engendered into the company with Hairspray absolutely the right work ethic. And I do think it comes from the top down. And I think that because I have this ethic, and the other principals do, that absolutely, with fun, you have to engender fun and excitement and enthusiasm, but you work. And if you're dropping, then you go, come on, you've got a little bit more left and you can rest after the show. And that is hard. But if you are going to, and the same with the live shows, I will. I think I went through a time when I was a bit lackadaisical about my tours, that I didn't include enough new material and change styles, because I thought people had found a little safety area and they liked the same. And then I realised, no, that's just all you get there is it's dwindling returns. Less and less people will keep coming back. So for the last 3 tours, I've really made big inroads into presenting a different style, different kinds of music, as well as the stuff that I think people will still want to hear.
Talking of which, they've given me permission to play off the DVD the Amy Winehouse track.
Oh, okay.
I love it.
The story that I say before it about where we met and the situation in the Savoy Hotel actually happened. It's embellished, but it's a true story. And it did spark this idea of me going, well, we were singing in the Savoy. Why don't I sing one of Amy Winehouse? Why don't I sing? And I did come back that night a little bit worse for wear, and my clothes did end up in the front garden. And so I thought it would be a perfect idea, because I couldn't, in all conscience, just sing Amy Winehouse's song for real. There would have to be a reason for it. and in order to do this sort of monologue that leads into doing it, made it feasible, made it work for me. With the Gnarls Barkley song, when I sing Crazy, now that is just a brilliant song. And I wanted to. I knew there was a way of doing it, of taking it right back at the beginning and stripping it away and listening to because the words are very powerful on that, and doing our own take on that. And that was one of the songs I think I was most proud of. And of course, the Scissor Sisters. Name a better song for getting people going, apart from You Can't Stop the Beat from Hairspray. It's such a good number. And I think I know now, I have an instinct for an audience to know how far I can go, which is further than people would imagine, but that will actually suit me, that I won't actually look ludicrous doing it.
Let me ask you this question. It might seem a stupid question, but something like Gnarls Barkley, the Mika song, or Scissor Sisters last year, how do you actually do it?
I mean, really, your backing singer to do the really high bits, quite frankly. That's exactly what I did. That's exactly. You listen to what I'm doing, and I do it in my range, because they'd multi-tracked it. And so I said to poor old Dean Collinson, backing singer, who's now doing Joseph. He's the Pharaoh in Joseph. I said, you can get up there, can't you? Okay, well, we'll harmonise on it. So it's him doing that.
All the best songs are really hard to sing. It always amazes me when you see something like X Factor and the audition with a Whitney Houston song, as if they're easy to sing.
Yeah, and the problem as well is, well, from when you go and see people live who've had huge successful songs and they've done it in the studio, they can't do it live. They simply can't. So they're either miming to track or they're letting you down. And with us, everything is obviously live, and we have to do it in such a way that we can do it night after night live, and so you do change arrangements and compromise with certain sound and so on. But I think the benefits are there because there's nothing better than live music.
We're back on your favourite local radio station with Michael Ball. He's got a brand new DVD out, Live. That must have taken you a while to think of that title.
I know, agony. We had a forum, a focus group, almost spent as much as the 2012 Olympic Committee did to get the logo, and came up with Michael Ball Live.
He's also in Hairspray at the moment, playing a woman, and then You're a Man on the front of your CD, which is nice and a relief. And you're doing Bacharach songs, and I think it's fair to say these are probably the best songs ever written, aren't they?
He certainly is. Well, he's written the Legtis chapter of the Great American Songbook. His instinct for melody, for time signature, for message. I mean, he's superb and consistent. The trouble with making this album was finding 12 songs when there were about 200. And people have memories for these songs. I mean, I certainly do, but you hear them, and anybody hearing them will go, oh yeah, that one. Oh God, I remember when I did this. What we tried to do with this, because there's the vast majority of them are such iconic songs with iconic performances and arrangements, and we can't slavishly copy what's been before. So in some cases we've done things that are very different but work really well for the song. Make It Easy on Yourself is a case in point. I have always heard that as a very plaintive, really sad and intimate song. When the Walker Brothers did it, they didn't do it like that. They made it quite anthemic, and I wanted to change that. The Look of Love, it's just, I mean, it's the best love song ever. So what we had is an arranger called Chris Walden. James Macmillan, who's the producer, got in touch with this guy who lives in LA, and he's a young guy, and he's kind of the arranger of the moment, the Nelson Riddle of the moment. And what he does, he takes an orchestra and a big brass section, which we had, and he writes arrangements that pay homage and nod back to the great arrangers of the past and the arranger that Burt Bacharach used, but takes them very much into the future, does make them his own, and does interesting things with them. So you don't change a song for the sake of changing it, because you're just being perverse, but you're not being lazy either. You're not just slavishly copying something. I wanted a CD that you could just crack open a bottle of wine, stick it on, and just sit there and go, oh yeah. And you'll either be really wrapped up in it and really moved by some of it, or it will just wash over you and make you feel nice.
It's a really nice album. It's in your stores now, along with the DVD. Hairspray's on at the Shaftesbury. In our remaining moments, let's go through what's happened in the last year since we last sat here and talked about you. Because, I mean, it's always nice to talk about you, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, and like I said to you last time, you've got everything,
Next time we'll talk about you, I promise.
That'd be nice. And now we're talking about me. Who'd have thought it? Other than the frocks, what's happened to you this year that's different?
The biggest thing that's happened to me this year is me doing a prom. This was... it came from left field in the prom season at the Albert Hall, and Nicholas Kenyon, who it was his final year, and he asked me to do an evening of my choice. He'd been to see me do Patience in New York City Opera, and he thought, I can see this working. You would swear I was responsible for global warming, the war in Iraq, and foot and mouth disease, as far as the classical echelons, the upper echelons of the classical world were concerned.
Isn't this the same thing we were saying earlier about these theatre reviewers, though, that don't get what real people want? These London-centric people who obsess themselves with things that are of no interest to anyone else.
Yeah. You know, I would maintain the fact that it was, and I don't mean this to sound flash, although it was the fastest selling concert that they had. It sold out before the last night had even sold out. The place was packed. They made we don't make any money. It's the proms make the money, so which enables them. There is a finite amount. You don't just shovel. I have a commercial mind. You have to make money to spend money. So in order to put on the more obscure concerts and more obscure works, of which are very worthy and should be heard, you have to pay for them. So why not have a commercial thing that pays for them? Same argument at the ENO, but do it well. There's no excuse for doing it badly. And I hope we answered our critics, because we put on a good show if you like that kind of music. And if you don't, there are hundreds of other concerts you can enjoy and take part in. Probably Puccini had the same problem, and Verdi had the same problem getting played because he wasn't classical enough. Well, whatever. If I'm sure Andrew's crying all the way to the bank, as in fact all of us are. But for something like that, it's popular music. It's what Sir Henry Wood wanted.
Well, it was interesting. I saw a lot of the reviews after it. They weren't the same reviews that were before it. They couldn't slag you off in the same way, which I think speaks for itself. Yeah. Very funny. You said you stopped smoking this year. How difficult was that on a scale of 1 to 10?
I actually still want to chew my foot off. It's not all the time now. The big problem was putting on weight, but that's fine because I'm playing Edna Turnblad, so I've just told everyone I'm like Robert De Niro in Raging Bull. So I can bull about that one. When I finish the show, God knows what I'm going to do. It's hard as hell. Do you smoke?
No, I don't. I can't stand it. But
no, and I can't now. No, it's not. I'm not a sort of born again.
Oh, I am.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't even be here now if you were smoking. I can't stand it. In fact, I remember you smoking during a show once, a live show we did. I sat there thinking, how could you do that to yourself and your voice?
I know, and I really... perversely, that's why I used to do it. I think it was because I thought there was, look at me. Yeah, I'm going to sing a B flat while I'm having a Marlboro Light. And I used to do that, and people always used to comment, how do you do it? And the fact was, I couldn't have done it much longer. It really was going to affect my voice and my chest and my breathing, and the difference it's made has been enormous. And I feel a prat for doing it for as long as I did. And even now, I was walking down the street and Tim, the PR guy, lit up a cigarette, and I went, oh, that would be quite nice, a little one now. But it lasts 30 seconds, then it's gone. Just don't give in to it.
How do I phrase this? With having larger portions now, does that help with your bass notes?
Larger portions of what?
Of you.
You mean... being a fat munter, does it mean I'm a better singer?
No. I wasn't accusing you of being a salad dodger, don't get me wrong.
I am. My voice has got richer and does have a better bottom end. I think that's aging as much as anything. I don't know. People do say that there's a different... well, obviously... my instrument is my whole body, so it resonates in a certain way because of the size I am. I think... as long as one's healthy, one can produce a good sound.
Congratulations on Hairspray.
Cheers,
it is
man.
simply remarkable. The new CD is wonderful and great to listen to, and the live show is the live show. I mean, you're one of those who comes in and delivers every time. And it's no wonder that you are the star you are in musical theatre.
Oh, bless you.
Because of your personality. I mean, there's so many of the same, aren't there? And I don't know how these kids get any work now. I mean, there are so few shows and so few roles, and really, unless you stick out, it's almost impossible.
It's gratifying when it does happen. Leanne Jones playing Tracy, her first job is made for this role. She's a star. What happens after this, what parts there are for her, I don't know. But at the moment, she is flying. Ben, James Ellis, who was off, I think, when you saw it. But Ben, who was in the Andrew Lloyd Webber, what is it called?
Any Dream
Will Do programme, and was actually my favourite in it. He came fourth, but he really stood out. He did have personality. He had a charisma about him, and he's great in this. And the best thing that could have happened is him not to win that and to be in this, because this is a role that suits him, that he's good at, and he's 18. If he keeps his head, which he does, and he listens to people who have experience, and he learns, and he keeps his head down, and he works and enjoys himself, because he should enjoy himself. I think he does have a career.
Absolutely. And one day he could reach the dream of being a 52-stone, 97-year-old like you.
That's exactly what I said to him. I said, he's there in his looking gorgeous in his 60s gear. I'm there in this house dress, scuffies and support hose, and said, Ben, this is what you have to look forward to in the future.
Michael Ball, thank you very much for talking to me again.
Cheers, Alex.